Solitary Path, or better known as Yinlin's story quest, contains themes of trust, loss, and betrayal. This video aims to summarize and analyze Yinlin's character quest and delve into the themes and narratives used. The quest starts off with Rover receiving a mysterious invitation from a man named Lirong, inviting them to join an organization known as the Seance Society. As the name suggests, this society claims that they can bring somebody back from the dead. He demonstrates this by introducing Rover to his daughter, who appears distant and not really there. Rover questions Lirong if his daughter had passed, which immediately sends Lirong into a state of overclocking. Basically, just consider overclocking as going insane. Yinlin shows up and introduces herself as a patroller, and transforms the daughter back into a puppet, showing that she has some sort of authority over these puppets and the Seance Society itself. You also could look at her kit and gauge this as well. Puppets are pseudo-humans who replicate deceased people, and they're gifted to those who gave up everything to join the Seance Society. In other words, the Seance Society is a cult. They depict themselves as a charity whose goal is to help others. Those who become too attached to their puppet are at more risk to overclock. This is also inferable by Lirong's behavior. Those who join the Seance Society are rumored to disappear, and Yinlin's currently investigating it privately. Basically, she's an undercover cop. Yinlin has plans to betray the Seance Society. She has their trust, she just needs more information. She shares the information that she knows, that the Seance Society is in cahoots with the Fraxidus, which is basically super bad guys, the bandits. There's an upcoming trade that also needs to be sabotaged. Rover and Yinlin plan to sabotage this trade to prevent the puppets from being distributed, much to Lirong's distaste. At this point, Lirong is a character who's so infatuated with puppets that he swears to protect all of them as if they were human. He's a grieving man living in denial and lives in an idealized fantasy with his daughter. Rover and Yinlin sabotage the trade, and Yinlin reveals that she can trust in them. She's a character that said that she doesn't trust in people generally, and that makes the statement mean all the more. However, that concept is flipped on its head in the next scene because Yinlin lures Rover into a cave, renders them unconscious, and then kidnaps them. Rover wakes up in the center of the camp of the Seance Society, where they're able to quickly send their coordinates to Chisha before being greeted by Yinlin. Yinlin tells Rover that they have to meet the Dollmaker, the leader of the Seance Society, in order to be inspected. After all, Rover's existence alone is an anomaly. Being in the camp reveals that there is a potential mole within the group, and more importantly, there is more information about who the Dollmaker is. So what is the Dollmaker's deal? The Dollmaker is revealed to be someone who stops at nothing to get what he wants, and that being to create the ultimate puppet. He's revealed to be vindictive and someone who wants revenge for what happened to his family. Basically, he's a super evil dude with typical villain motives. Suddenly, Yinlin approaches Rover and reveals that she wants to burn down the entire camp. In other words, she's on Rover's side and needs Rover's cooperation to meet the Dollmaker. Rover looks past the betrayal and agrees to pretend to be a captive. The two eventually make it to the Dollmaker, and Yinlin demands him to stop. It turns out that Yinlin and the Dollmaker are brother and sister, and the Dollmaker wants to revive their families through the use of puppets. This also kind of explains why Yinlin has a puppet aesthetic in her kit. Fighting the Dollmaker reveals a lot about Yinlin's character and how she copes with the loss of her family. She doesn't use her identity as a patroller to prove that she's in the right. Her misfortune isn't really an excuse for why she turned out this way. It is a really good message to those who experience misfortune. We have two siblings who went through the same trauma but turned out completely different people. One justifies his actions through his misfortune, and the other one looks past it and grows from it. Similar to Jion's story quest, there is a really human theme that the average person can relate to, or at least see in others. Things get resolved and Rover has one last conversation with Yinlin, where Yinlin explains her betrayal. Yinlin is like her brother in the way that she prioritizes herself. She's fine with using people as pawns to get what she wants. They both fear shattering their fantasies and are fine with using people as chess pieces. Final interaction with Rover is one of gratitude, where she reveals yet again that Rover has her trust. There are two prominent themes in this story quest, that being fantasy and trust, or more specifically, indulgence. The of indulging in fantasies is prominent in many characters in this quest. The early NPCs, the Dollmaker, and Yinlin herself. They chose indulgence and they want inanimate objects to fill voids in their heart. I know that I called Dollmaker the typical villain, but his flaws do make a lot of sense and something that most of us are guilty of, whether it be talking to AI or fantasizing over a fictional character. This stems from the desire to have something or having something meaningful in your life. It's really easy to spiral and tunnel vision yourself on these artificial bonds, but like these puppets, they aren't the real thing and they never will be the real thing, despite how many improvements they may get. I also appreciated the theme of trust in this story. Even though Yinlin was a good guy, there was nuance in how she trusted people people, and whether or not she's a trustworthy figure herself doesn't really matter. She used her status as a patroller to gain trust, but then she ended up betraying Rover. Rover also has a lot of prestige as a hero, which alone also gave Yinlin the ability to trust them. I think Yinlin did trust Rover, but didn't mind to break that trust. There's often cases where only one person of the two was trustworthy, and Rover chose to look against that and trust Yinlin regardless. However, if Rover didn't trust Yinlin, someone who made a mistake, they wouldn't have gained Yinlin's full trust. Rover even initially doubted Yinlin's claims as a patroller. Lots of the work that they did together was actually an agreement. Rover helps Yinlin, Yinlin gives Rover information. Due to Rover's reaction after being betrayed initially, they weren't really soul-crushed, so I think that they kind of knew what was going on, and that they probably weren't meant to trust Yinlin. I can see Yinlin coming back later in the story, but I think she's going to be a different person. Maybe she'll be more comfortable sharing her inner thoughts with Rover, or maybe she's gonna drop the most manipulative ideas casually and just get corrected. Either way, I did like this story, and I hope you guys did too. Thank you so much for watching, and have a great day.